Here's a sneak peek from this week's episode.
So, Melissa, which one would you choose? Curaçao or Aruba? I'm Scott.
And I'm Melissa.
And we are the Sunshine Travelers. Our passion is travel and sharing our experiences with those who enjoy it as much as we do, or those who want to learn more about travel, or even those who just want to live vicariously through our travel stories. No matter where you fall along that journey, get ready to hear our firsthand experiences as we visit some of the most interesting and amazing places on Earth. This week we have an exciting episode for you. We recently visited 2 islands in the Southern Caribbean and wanted to do a comparison of the two. If you're planning a trip and would like to weigh the pros and cons of each island, this episode is perfect for you. Join us as we debate the merits of Curaçao versus Aruba. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about our adventures in Curaçao and Aruba. It's also generated a lot of interest from our listeners of which one do we like better.
That got us thinking that maybe we should do a little game of this or that, where we pick a few high-level topics and choose which one of these islands we would prefer for each one. What do you think, Scott?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so I
definitely have an opinion.
Yes, so I'm going to start. So which city would you choose? Willemstad or Oranjestad?
I'm definitely picking Willemstad.
Well, that's good because we really didn't spend any time in Oranjestad. So Willemstad is...
Well, we did. We just stayed down on the Eagle Beach. We didn't stay in downtown, but that's where we were.
Yeah. But I would say, like, we didn't spend any time, like, where the cruise ships come in. But, I mean, it's really like a cruise port. So, like, you've been to one, you've been to them all. So, Willemstad is the city in Curaçao. And I just felt like it's the one that has a lot more European charm and character. So if you've ever seen pictures of Curaçao, you've seen the buildings that are colorful, that looks like they really belong in Amsterdam. You have the Queen Emma Bridge that crosses over from one side to the other. They have to open up when the ships come in. And so we just felt like it was just fun to walk. We stayed within walking distance of this area. And so totally agree with you.
Melissa, guess what comes in right there in Willemstad? What comes into port there?
Cruise ships.
Cruise ships.
Yeah, but it just wasn't so...
So you're asking me, which one do I like better, right? They're both cruise ports, right? They're both cruise destinations. I like Willemstad better. I just feel like it was more authentic and unique. And Oranjestad, or however you say it, Oranjestad, you know, it was any city in Florida that has a cruise port.
Agree. It was. Yeah. So if you want to have like a European charm in the Caribbean, like Willemstad was the place to go. And we really just enjoyed walking and, you know, getting an ice cream at a couple of places and just being able to, yeah, like walk to the restaurants from our hotel and stuff like that. So it definitely as a city, I would pick that for sure.
So we're going to go through a bunch of different topics and pick our favorites. So let's talk about accommodations. Melissa, would you rather have a boutique hotel in Curaçao or a high-rise hotel like the Ocean Club in Aruba?
Hands down, the boutique hotel in Curaçao.
Why?
It was just really charming to, you know, check in at the little office and have that accessible. We had an actual key, which is could be a little nerve-wracking to keep up with. But I mean, the lobby was decorated so well. The one that we stayed at, the Peter Mai, had partnered with that Van Gogh specialty coffee. But there were lots of cute ones close by. And so I just enjoyed that experience. And what you should know is the price difference is probably incomparable. The place that we stayed was just cute, had a cute little courtyard and the pool. But I think that the price for 3 nights was probably less, way less than you could have stayed 1 night in Aruba. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was crazy. Very affordable, I thought, from the hotel or lodging perspective. And then especially when you told me how much the regular, you know, the rack rate or whatever of those hotels in Aruba was, to me, this was a hands down. But the other thing that I liked about it was the little boutique hotels, the one we stayed at had, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 rooms. And so it wasn't so huge and overwhelming. And you got to walk 5 miles, wandering around through the pool to get from the hotel to the beach in Aruba, right? We had to walk all that long ways because we were a long ways away from it. But these were just small boutique hotels. And so I just like it from a size perspective. I don't think that we lost out on any amenities. The Marriott, I guess they did have this big, huge pool with the waterfalls and the lazy river. And for a lot of people, that's going to be very important. But it wasn't for us.
But the boutique hotels all had a cute swimming pool. I mean, depending on what you were after. But it had a cute courtyard with a cute swimming pool. And not only that, if we hadn't chosen the Peter Mai, there were like several other ones that we looked at to say, oh, which one of these are we going to pick? Right? Because they were all very cute. And you did say we did have lunch at the Scuba Lodge that you said that might be a good one because it is right there on the water and they had a nice pool and stuff like that. That might be like, may have picked that one after have seen it in person. But and that one was a little bit more expensive, but still not anywhere near. Now, let's also just clarify, you can stay at some resort hotels in Curacao. They're not going to be with the exception, I think they had a Renaissance one that was on the cruise port, and that one's just going to be very much like staying at a hotel. You would have the walking distance to Willemstad. And then there's other resorts like Sandals and some other Marriott type things that are away from the downtown area. But if you want the walking distance to downtown, it was just very charming, I think, and just something that you don't often get to experience, being able to, just walk downtown to a city like that.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next category. So how about your favorite meal? And remember, this is this or that. So you don't get to choose from other things. You have to choose from my list. So Ceviche 91 was in Curaçao, or the Flying Fishbone in Aruba.
So I would choose Ceviche 91, even though they tried to serve me shellfish. So we had a little bit of a loss in translation type of a thing, and I really don't know that he really understood about the shellfish. Thankfully, Scott recognized it. That was just a great restaurant. And thankfully, that was another time when we asked a couple of different people, one at the hotel and one at a little gelato shop in Curacao, where should we eat? Where should we eat? And when that came up the second time, I was like, let's see if we can get a reservation real quick. It was at the fort and it was at the very top. And so it just overlooked the whole area and the food was just outstanding. And I think the ceviche it was just served the way that I like it.
So it was a Peruvian and Japanese infusion or fusion. What's the right word? Fusion. So a Peruvian and Japanese fusion restaurant. And so I think that just meant that they had sushi. Which, if you think about it, ceviche is kind of like sushi anyway. So
I think that was my favorite. So we can't choose for another meal?
Okay. Let me give you one more then. If you go back one episode, you said that you loved this Azar open fire cuisine. So would you choose that restaurant or Ceviche 91?
Ooh, I still think I'd pick that Ceviche 91.
I agree. I thought that was really good food.
It was really good food.
Yeah. The atmosphere was just wonderful. We sat outside. It was a couple of stories up in this old fort. And so it was on the top floor, I think, and the water was crashing in. It was funny because the waves were huge that night and the water would crash and somehow every once in a while they would splash up there.
Well, and there were restaurants down below us, and I think it was splashing on the people down below. And we'd actually eaten at a restaurant further down a couple of nights before. And so I think the water was splashing on these people, and they were actually getting wet.
And they were screaming. And
yeah.
But the food was terrific. Yes, they did try to serve you shrimp, but I saw that. And I have to give the guy a little bit of a break because he did say that was his first night working there.
Yeah. And then the other funny story was actually when you paid, it was somebody else's bill and you were like, wait a minute, this isn't right. So sometimes despite restaurants, shortcomings, I mean, they fixed it and they made it right. And it was, like an honest mistake or whatever. But sometimes despite, some hiccups, it can still be, your favorite. Because otherwise the service was phenomenal and the food was phenomenal and we had a great view. The other thing that we never figured out was down below, once it got dark, there were lights that they had shown, and it honestly looked like that there were sharks out in that water, the big shadows. And it was just interesting because it was like the shark like that we had seen when we were on the boat in the Galapagos. And so we never could figure out. We tried to ask the guy, but he didn't know. So, but
he said there was no sharks.
Oh, that's right. They said there were no sharks. That's right.
I looked that up, and that wasn't true.
Oh, okay. So it definitely looked like some sharks.
I told him not to go swimming down there. Well, let's move on. How about the food in Aruba versus the food in Curacao?
So I will say that overall was very good in both places. Oh, that's a tough one because I would say that just overall. Now, I will say that in Aruba, if you wanted Wendy's, KFC, McDonald's, Burger King, all those places.
Olive Garden.
Yeah, any of those places, like you would be able to find that there. But I would say just overall, the food was excellent, one over the other. Ooh, I probably have more memorable in Curaçao, I would say, from the breakfast at the Van Gogh Specialty Coffee. We randomly went to this place after we saw the flamingos where we said, oh, this must be popular. It's beside the side of the road near the Willywood sign, Marfa's Good Hangout. And it was barbecue night. And they were cooking the barbecue on a grill across the street. That was good. And we walked in and they were like, yo, you have a reservation? And we were like, you've got to be kidding. Like it looked like it was like a gas station stop. But that was excellent. I'm trying to think what else. But yeah, I'd say overall the food. I really enjoyed the food.
I totally agree. I felt like Aruba, everything about the food scene in Aruba just felt Americanized. And that's kind of what I was talking about when I said, if you went to Aruba, it could be any beach in the U.S. I threw that in about the Olive Garden because there's literally an Olive Garden there, people. And that means when you visit Aruba, you guys are going to the Olive Garden. I definitely would choose the food in Curaçao. It was also a lot cheaper.
It wasn't like cheap. So let's not set up for
That's true.
It wasn't cheap, but it was definitely less expensive.
Yes. How about snorkeling? Curaçao or Aruba?
So overall, I think we found more snorkeling spots in Curaçao that we thoroughly enjoyed. 3 at least, and especially that tugboat shipwreck. And there were a couple of other places, I think, if it hadn't have been quite so windy or rough, that we also could have snorkeled. Now, having said that, that last place that we snorkeled, Boca Catalina, near Boca Catalina Beach, that we talked about in the last episode, again, along that rock wall, it wasn't rough. You were, kind of tucked away in that bay. I really enjoyed that. Other than that, I would say that the water in Aruba was a bit rougher.
Yeah, I think we just found more places with good snorkeling in Curaçao than we did on Aruba.
And you have to remember too, like Curaçao is known, I mentioned that the dive hotel, I mean, it's known for people to, to go down there in the different places and dive too. So definitely would pick Curaçao for that. Beaches.
So I'm going to give Aruba the award for the beaches. I think Aruba definitely has nicer beaches. They have the wide sandy beaches, the little palupas, I think they're called, the little huts that you can rent or thatch umbrellas. I wasn't quite sure what the draw was for those because realistically you had to sit around this like pole to be under them. So I'm not sure why that was so popular with everybody, but it is. It's a huge thing there.
Well, I imagine the sun can be pretty intense too, and especially if you're not used to being out in it.
Yeah, but like everybody was just sitting in chairs like around them, staring at this pole in between them. So I'm not sure I really understood that much, but it is a big thing in Aruba, and people fight over those to get, the ones down by the beach. They have the drink service where they'll bring you your drink down to the beach. So I believe that puts Aruba a little bit ahead on that front.
Yeah, I agree. And in beauty too. I would say that the beaches in Curaçao are a little bit more, maybe rustic. I think in the other episode, we compared them to like a beach in Hawaii where you may have to park and walk and you just have some, local type amenities and smaller, a lot of times like rocks and stuff.
Are you saying that you didn't enjoy the beach that we went to where we stared at the oil rig that was being refurbished?
That was probably the most interesting. So if I had to do like the most interesting beach in the world or something, because like they had the beach amenities, right? People would rent chairs but yeah, that's true. That's interesting. That's a good idea for a
By the way, go back to
video.
the Curaçao episode and you'll hear what we're talking about. Our actual favorite beach that we went to because of the snorkeling was where the tugboat shipwreck was, but there was an oil rig right there that was being refurbished. So that was your view for the day.
And we went there the first afternoon that we had gotten there. And I kind of thought, what is this place? Like, this is a little strange. You know, when you have a travel day and then we had late lunch and you're like, we're going to this place to snorkel. And at first I didn't even get in. And you were like, no, seriously, like you have to get in and just see this. And we even missed the tugboat shipwreck the first day. But yeah, that oil rig, it was interesting. Very interesting.
Next is street murals. San Nicolas in Aruba, or all of the murals that were spread around Willemstad.
So that's interesting that both of them have like well known for street murals, first of all. So I definitely would pick the ones in Aruba in the little town of St. Nicholas, just because they were, easy to find. Like you're wandering around that whole little district. They were more spread out in Willemstad. And even some of them, so like we referenced a couple of blog posts and then people had them marked and we didn't even make them to all because some of them were just like, I don't know exactly where that is. But I will say a couple of things, like wandering around Willemstad to like see them. We happened upon a couple of really cute spots, which always goes back to our recommendation, which is just like walk and, see a city and stuff like that, because we wouldn't have run across some of those places if we hadn't have. But in terms of the sheer number of them and how many you could see and actually find. But they were absolutely gorgeous, both places. And there was a few of them in Willemstad that were just like massive, right? And just absolutely elaborate. So worth seeing in both places for sure.
We did see some people doing like a scooter tour. It's like a big wheel scooter type thing. And they were doing a tour and it looked like it was taking them to all of the murals.
Oh, so that would be a good tour to look up. Okay. That's good to know. I'll have to check into that one.
So you could probably do that. But this is where we came across the little town, or little area called Curaçao Village. And we walked around up there and said, matter of fact, if we were to go back to Curaçao, we might stay at the little boutique hotel that was part of this Curaçao Village.
Yeah, it looked like they had some neat restaurants. If we hadn't have gone to that Ceviche 91, there was a cute little restaurant there that was recommended, and we had stopped and gotten coffee and gelato, and they had several cute shops in that little village. So from what I understand, that's like a historical area, and they've just tried to revitalize it as well. So
how about your favorite tour experience? The Easy Raider on Aruba or the Curaçao Distillery Tour?
So I would have to say definitely the Easy Raider tour. That was just a unique experience. Like you said, we had never done anything like that. And then I think just having that time to get to, him telling us a lot of stuff about the history and the different locations, and then us getting to ask questions. The other was fun. We got to learn where the Curacao came from, why that particular one. And the cocktails, but the cocktails weren't really, besides some of them you could pick ones that use that original, Curacao liqueur. We didn't really have a lot of, interaction, like as far as local, besides just making the drinks. Now that one was interesting though, because we did get to talk to a couple that were actually on a cruise ship doing that tour that gave us a lot of great tips for an upcoming trip to South Africa. So that was a neat experience, getting to, meet some fellow travelers and get some tips for another location.
Well, I know this next one, I think you've got a definite opinion on that, and we may not agree. So how about breakfast? Is it Eduardo's Beach Shack in Aruba or the Van Gogh in Curaçao?
So I would pick the Van Gogh in Curaçao. They had, coffee, and then they had a cute little, like their drive-through was like a cute little coffee truck. I think I just loved the aesthetic of the inside, and then we got to sit on the porch, and then they had things like avocado toast and fresh juices. And so one of the days we had breakfast a little late. And so I actually, before we left, had him make me an affogato, which was absolutely delicious. I said better than an espresso martini. What about you?
Well, I'm going to have to say Eduardo's Beach Shack on Aruba. I thought that was great. You know, it was one of those things where we had eaten out a lot of different restaurants, maybe a lot of different rich food. And so it was really nice just to have that fruit bowl with the acai and, you know, just kind of take it easy from that perspective. But really good coffee, you know, cute little shack there. The people who worked there were super friendly. And so I like that. And then, of course, you're out by the beach, which we absolutely love.
Yeah, that was the location of that was great. So, Scott, what would you say about the sunsets? We got to experience a couple of amazing sunsets. Number one, where we saw it when the flamingos in the wild on Curaçao, and then the other one on the beach in Aruba, Boca Catalina.
Now, that's a hard one because both of those were great. And they had their own reasons for being wonderful. But I think I'm going to choose the flamingos in Curaçao because they're wild flamingos there in Curaçao.
Yeah, that was amazing to see that sunset over the mountain. But then you also had that church in the background. I mean, it was neat to see the sunset with the boats, but like that could be a lot of places. So good pick.
Speaking of flamingos, let me throw that one out there. The flamingos in Curaçao or the flamingos on Flamingo Island in Aruba?
The flamingos in Curaçao, for sure. I think that you don't know if you're actually going to get to see them, right? So a lot of people had said, you know, here's where they are. It's in the salt flats, but you don't know if they're really going to be there. And I think there were, do you remember? I think like 16 of them. And I just gasped, I think, when I saw them because I was like, they're actually here. And several people had stopped and parked and were kind of, you know, walking that direction. So that was my favorite.
I think I agree. I mean, it's neat to be up close and personal with them there in Aruba, but then you kind of also know they can't leave there. And I don't know, in my mind, that just makes them prisoners. Now, they're prisoners in a really fabulous place, but they're still prisoners. So I'm going to go with the ones in Curaçao.
Yeah, and we actually got to, it was after we had walked back to the car, but a few of them like flew a little bit of ways. And that's just neat because when you see them in zoos and stuff like that, you never get to see them fly. They had actually flown by our boat when we were in the Galapagos, and that was just the neatest thing. So to get to see that again. And then it's free. That's the other thing too, because it's a lot of cost and a lot of effort to get to go see them on that Flamingo Beach. And then here, this was, you know, we had finished snorkeling. We went to see them. So
that's true. It is Flamingo Beach. I think I said Flamingo Island.
Well, they are on the island because you have to take a boat over there. So
in summary, Melissa, which one would you choose? Curaçao or Aruba?
So I would choose Curaçao. And so if I was going to be able to go back to one, I would definitely go back to Curaçao.
So there's a lot of things that I thought were really nice on Aruba. And matter of fact, you saw even my breakfast pick was there on Aruba. But I just felt like, and I think it was pretty clear when I was talking about this earlier, it could have been any beach in Florida. It was so Americanized, so developed, so commercialized that it just could have been anywhere. And Curaçao just didn't have that. It had more of an authentic, rustic feel to it. And so if I'm going to travel somewhere and I'm going to go that distance to get there, I want that authentic, slightly rustic experience of Curaçao.
And I think you were actually talking to somebody. It may have been at the hotel in Curaçao or somewhere. Remind me if you can remember. And I think you mentioned, I think it was at the waiter at the coffee, at the Van Gogh Specialty Coffee. And you mentioned that we were going to go to Aruba next. And he said that you would find Curaçao to be more rustic, authentic than when we got to Aruba.
Yeah. I think what just absolutely sealed the deal on that was when we drove by and we saw that Olive Garden on Aruba. And I said it earlier. It's there because you guys are going to this stupid thing.
Yeah.
But there's just nothing authentic about that. And so I think in my mind, I'm just choosing Curaçao.
Yeah. And I mean, we try to eat at local places no matter where, right? Even in the US, like if we go somewhere, we want to have, a local experience and promote, or support a local, business and just, experience that. But yeah, for sure. So for more details on Aruba, be sure to listen to both episodes 45 and 57. So in 45, we interviewed a friend when we were planning our trip. And so she gave us lots of good recommendations. And then in episode 57, we tell you what we did and our recommendations in a very different way, because we did a much more off the beaten path Aruba. So what to do and then what to avoid. Also in episode 56, you can hear all the details about our favorite pick between the two, which is Curaçao.
I definitely have my favorite between the two, but the one thing that I've learned is that everyone has their own reasons for what they prefer. Which one of these is your favorite? Send me an email, scott@sunshinetravelers.com, and let me know which one you would choose and why. We are always encouraged by your travel adventures.
When you are booking reservations for your next trip, we recommend using Booking.com. Choose from over 1 million properties worldwide, from cozy country homes to sleek city apartments. Find the best deals with our price match promise. You can enjoy great stays at lower cost. And because flexibility matters, book with confidence knowing you can cancel with ease. You can also make informed choices with millions of reviews from fellow travelers. Start your next adventure now and visit sunshinetravelers.com/booking to book your perfect stay. Using our affiliate links to book your experiences and travel helps support our podcast and allows us to continue to provide new content each week. Please consider using this link when booking your next travel. There is no extra cost to you, and we are compensated through the affiliate.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and found some inspiration to help you with your travel journeys. If you could take a moment and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, it would be greatly appreciated. Your 5-star reviews help us get discovered by others and possibly featured on your favorite platform. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to our podcast to get notified of new episodes as they are released. You can also find us on Instagram as Sunshine Travelers Podcast. Remember, that is Travelers with 1 L. Most importantly, please share it with your friends to help them catch the travel bug. You never know, they may become your greatest travel companion.